Hello and welcome back. We are talking with Mr. Hal Werner about online advertising. Hal, you've worked in advertising for a while now. You've done some online banners and online advertising in general. Do you want to kind of share what you've learned doing this?
Well, I mean, there's all kinds of lessons that can be had. I think the most important lesson when it comes to online marketing is to test. There are so many different possibilities, and there are some general rules that, sort of best practices that almost always or most of the time will give you better performance. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of it's counterintuitive, and until you test, you really don't know. That's one of the great things about online marketing, though, is because all the data that's available, you can get really scientific with it.
Now, I know on my own website I've placed some online ads, and I know different sizes perform differently, and there are certain popular sizes too that are known in the community that advertisers use with AdWords. And some of the popular ones is the 300 by 250 size, which is slightly rectangular. It's very popular. And some of the other ones now, they have the leaderboards, which are 728 by 90, so roughly about 7 inches long by 1 inch high. And now Google's also coming out with some newer sizes, which are really great. There's one that's like about 6 inches by 3 inches, really huge, and you're starting to see them more on the web, and they're pretty effective. I've seen some click-throughs on my site. Something else I've noticed through my work is remarketing that Google uses. It's sort of like this technology where advertisers can follow you throughout the web and serve you ads based on what you're interested in and if you visited their website. So it's pretty ingenious the way Google has it figured out, where if I go to halswidgets.com and I look at some of his widgets, and then I go to a different website that
You're looking at my widgets, Ken?
I'm looking at your widgets, Hal. And I go to a different website that has Google advertising space on it. I might see an advertisement for Hal's widgets.
My widgets are everywhere.
Widgets are everywhere, right? And so it can track you, pretty much everywhere. And it's great because if you actually are interested in Hal's widgets, you might click on the ad.
Everybody's interested in Hal's widgets.
So it's very powerful. We found through my own line of work, setting up these remarketing campaigns, that they're very effective. You get good click-through rates, and customers will visit your site and take all kinds of actions that you want them to, filling out forms and spreading the word and things like that. So I encourage anybody who's doing Google AdWords to do remarketing campaigns. They're very, very effective. Because a lot of people, I know there's a lot of debate about paid search and online ads just not being very useful, and I don't think that's the case at all. And especially when you can target towards people who are looking for your competitor, which is really powerful. So if Hal's selling his widgets, and I'm Ken's widgets, and I want my ad to show up every time people are searching for Hal's widgets, I can steal his thunder, and I can outbid Hal on his own widget name and his company name, and steal some of his traffic, and I can put any kind of message out there I want, in real time, basically. So it's very powerful, especially for people that don't have a lot of organic search and they're just getting their website started. So it's something really to consider. I know there's been a lot of talk about like Amazon saying paid ads are worthless, and the search engine community saying how they're wrong and whatnot. So there's always this debate, but I think you really need to do both paid search and also put a lot of effort and time into search engine optimization and social media and all of that. So Hal, you know a little something about the dynamic nature of the remarketing technology. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, like you said, remarketing can be very handy because it's someone who's already visited the site and somebody who is most likely already interested in the product. So it's already a better fit than just a general ad. But they're getting really advanced with them these days, and you might have noticed it, to the point where they can not only serve up an ad for the same company, but they can actually show you the exact products that you were looking at in that ad. Mm-hmm. For example, I was buying athletic shoes recently, and I looked at a bunch of different sites, and as I would continue to cruise through the internet, the cookies they dropped on me obviously included those shoes because I'd see them scroll through on the banner ads from that company.
Right.
So, I mean, it's getting really powerful with some of the technology behind it these days.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are familiar with it too, sort of just using Amazon. If you're just using Amazon and you search for things and it kind of pops up in like, as you're looking for other products, things that you've looked at in the past. So if you've ever used Amazon, it kind of works like that, but it sort of travels, throughout the web wherever you go. Because Google's goal is basically to get everybody onto using Google AdSense, so that basically every web property turns into an advertising opportunity. So basically, people can profit from having ads on their site, and Google can send them money. So it's, I guess in a way you might say it's a little creepy because Google is everywhere, but I think it works out for everybody.
Well, it's nice for people who aren't giant corporations to earn some, side income, let's say. If you're a part-time blogger and you have a full-time job, maybe you know that being a part-time blogger is never going to fully support you. You can't take some sort of crazy leap. You don't have venture capital. You're not going to be sitting there doing your blogging full-time. Right. But if you have a reasonable amount of traffic, and it can be plenty of spending cash. It can be something to supplement your income. You can build it over time, and if you're lucky enough to make it to that phase at some point, then great. But you don't have to be a huge website with hundreds of thousands of visits a month just to sell your advertising. Google, the AdSense program, actually helps you do all that legwork of selling the advertising instead of having to be your own sales rep and call people up.
Right, and it's great. And actually, the larger that you get, the more competition there is for your web property. So if you turn into like a smaller New York Times, for instance, you can have people bidding on certain sections within your website. So if there's like a finance section on your website, you could specifically tag that as, okay, this is the finance section, and advertisers who want to target finance or who know about your website, they'll pay a premium to be in your spot because AdWords or AdSense only gives you three advertising spots that you can have on a page, so they're pretty valuable if you're well known, and you can make a lot of money. And plus, as everything just goes online, I think we're going to have more and more competition. Cost per clicks have been going up over the years because there's so much competition. Because now that print is dying, radio is dying, TV is dying. Everything's going online, so it just forces advertisers to pay more and more money. So it's starting to become a bigger deal. I know for my own site, I'm making some beer money on my AdSense, so it's good for me. And I think if people put in a little bit of effort, they can have a decent amount of side income going on as well, which is great because you do have some costs involved in having a website. Like I pay web host fees, I pay domain fees. There's some costs involved in having your own website, even though they're fairly small, but you still need to make up some of that money.
Yeah, I mean, it's great for online sites or communities that are not designed to be, profit-driven businesses. If you have a forum around a particular interest like nursing or something like that, it might be a really popular forum, but you still have to cover the cost of supporting that forum. And so that can be a really nice way, for that sort of community to exist and grow without having to strain the personal finances of somebody running it.
Right. All right, well, this is great. Hal, how can people reach you?
They can reach me on Twitter at Hal Werner.
Great. And if people are further interested in podcasts, you can go to kenmariko.com/blog, and you can also find me on Twitter at Ken Mariko. Thanks for listening.